All right, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of Latino Free Minds. I'm Daniel, the co-host of the show. I'm a second-generation Mexican-American born Latino here, and I believe I have a free mind. We'll see. And here's my co-host.
Hi, everyone. I hope everybody's doing good. Just like Daniel, I'm actually the first generation born here of my family. And like Daniel said right now, hopefully we find out that we have a free mind or trying to have a free mind after being born in the system, learning the system with our parents. Well, my parents not knowing the system here, just coming to follow the American dream.
Mm-hmm. And keep that dream alive, right? For other people. But yeah, so we're here to, hopefully educate and just make people think about, what's really going on, what they're seeing, what they're hearing, their family and all that good stuff. So, we're just two guys here that are hopefully with our conversation, we get to spark other people's minds, and then, they get to have more conversations, and hopefully this is a tool for them. So one of the things that we really wanted to focus on this first show was, in a sense, why we are doing this, what our goal is, and pretty much what we hope the outcome is, the end game of what we're doing here. So it's going to give you guys a chance to kind of see what we believe, where we're coming from, and like I said, just kind of what we hope to accomplish with this.
Yeah. One of the things that you said in the beginning was that, trying to teach, but more than anything, learn. We're still learning, and we want everybody to, have a free mind and want to learn. If you're interested in learning, the American way and the ins and outs, things that we aren't taught by our parents or in school even. So, we want to learn together. So the today's conversation more than anything is about that, why we're here, and just let everybody know that we're learning with you if you want to learn with us. And we hope that you do. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So let me ask you, why are we here?
So the reason that we're here is just to get it kicked off, like you said with the first episode, is we thought about this a lot, and strategically, how to approach this first episode. And I think the best way to break it down is in stages. So we actually got pen to paper and wrote down. We tried to break it down as best as possible. It's not perfect, but it's what we came up with. So hopefully everybody can relate to this. But the main reason that we're here having this conversation today is that we came to a realization that we're being manipulated, right? And just not to use, controversial words or anything like that, because we could definitely do that, but that's not what this is about. It's actually just, breaking it down to, its root cause, and coming to a realization where we feel like, we've been manipulated, with the way that the American way is, with the system. So we'll touch on manipulation first, and what that means. So number one on the list, manipulation, not thinking for ourselves. And then that trickles down to like school, politicians, music, celebrities, news, and sports. And what that is leading us away from our values, which are belief in God, family, accountability, responsibility. And what it does it divides us from the family and the brother and sisterly love. We were going to use the word community, but a lot of these politicians and everything like to lump everything up in a community, but we wanted to break it down to even deeper than that, which would be just brotherly and sisterly love
Yeah.
and family.
Yeah. Like loving your neighbor.
Mm-hmm. And then the next step after that is why would they do this? Why would we be manipulated? And it's simple. It's to maintain control, power, and greed, because of greed. And what they do, what that happens to us when they do that, and they force their lack of morals. That's the best way that we could describe it. Is we were going to say that they force their morals onto us, but it's almost like a lack of morals that they have.
Yeah.
And then, and
I
then
think
it
that
goes
is
down
the best way to
and
put
then
it.
we'll touch on the end game
Yeah.
of all of this.
Yeah.
So,
So I think
did you want to add anything to that?
No, just kind of, just starting off with the manipulation. I think that's a key thing that needs to be covered, because one thing for sure is a lot of people don't even know it's happening. I think we were saying the other day is they don't know that they're supposed to be questioning, or don't even think to question, what they may see or hear. So it's like, how do you ask a question when you don't know there's a question to be asked? So one thing that people got to realize, and, that's part of our growth, and, what led us to here is realizing that, there is manipulation going on. It may be subtle. So nowadays, most of it is just out there. It's not as subtle, but it is happening, and a lot of people don't view it as manipulation. They maybe view it as, maybe what's going on in the culture, what's popular today, right? But it is a form of manipulation. And like I said, people got to understand that it does happen. It is happening.
Yeah. One of the things that we were talking about before too is that in this manipulation, right, it has to be subtle, and it has to start early. So, for example, we go to school, and the manipulation starts there, with the school system. Then the TV that you watch, we talked about it. Movies have a certain message to them, right? Sports, athletes have certain positions, and they broadcast, what their position is. Music, so and those celebrities as well. They voice, their position, whether it's political or whatever is going on in society. So if we take into account everything that we're hearing, it is a form of manipulation. And one of the ways that I was able to identify it in my own life is that you start telling your parents, like, oh, you're so old fashioned, things are different now. And what your parents are trying to instill in you and show you is their values, right?
Yeah.
And I think the best example that I can give is like if you're watching a a movie or a TV show with your family back in the day, if it was on TV, there wasn't any sexual
No
messages or anything like that. Nowadays, it's like everything goes. And if a parent says anything and the kid turns around and goes, "Hey, you're old fashioned. Things are different now." And what's happening, it's eroding that innocence or that respect from parent to child, and it's taken away from that. So that's a little sign right there. And everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but that's just a small example of how it's the manipulation starts.
Yeah, it's like they normalize, well, especially like, in movies, things
Mm-hmm.
that I guess you could say are for adults, right?
Yeah.
And then they just kind of put it all out there for kids, and then kids start asking questions or start being exposed to those things,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just, again, if they see it over and over, you're right, they go, yeah, time just changed, this is how it is now. And it doesn't have to be, we have to definitely speak up or put that on blast, right, when those kind of things are happening. And there's different methods of doing that, but that is part of the manipulation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. And then I don't know if you're okay with moving on to the step after that, which is not thinking for ourselves.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. Because yeah, exactly. Once you've been manipulated, right? Um, and you start thinking or saying, yeah, that's what it is today. These are the normal things. It's been normalized within you. Um, you think it's not a big deal. Uh, it could be so many different things, but you think that, oh, it's fine. I don't know why people get so mad about this or why people get bothered by it. And in that sense, you're just kind of going with the flow
yeah.
of what you've been manipulated with. And in a sense, you don't start to think for yourself, and you don't question those things because it's been normalized in your mind. It's become your reality that,
Right.
okay, yeah, that's fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just to piggyback off of that is that so the words coming out of your mouth is like you're old fashioned, things are different, but the information that you're receiving, through music, sports, movies,
Mm-hmm.
uh, news, politicians,
Yeah. Social media today too is
that's what you're
big.
receiving, and that's what they're instilling in you,
Mm-hmm.
and therefore you start believing it, you start thinking it, but does it really come from you? And I know
Mm-hmm.
that can get a little bit too deep for some people, but it's I always like to use this example with my kids is that we all know that trends come and go, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if there's a new trend to dye your hair a certain color or dress a certain way, and you ask your kid, what's going on, it's a little bit different and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and they turn around and go, well, I'm trying to be different, this is, I want to be different from everybody. But then again, they're following a trend. They're following other kids. They saw other
Mm-hmm.
kids doing that, but they believe that they're being different,
Mm-hmm.
from the mainstream,
Yeah.
and how everybody else is out there. But it's really, you didn't come up with that style on your own or anything like that. It's you believe that you're being different, but you're not. You're being like someone else. You're
Yeah.
following
Yeah.
someone else's lead. So it's kind of like the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
They're just little seeds that are being planted there, and before you know it, you're signed on, and you don't even know why you're so signed on. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you back it like like you're gonna fight for it,
Your
and
life
it's like,
depends on
but
it.
why?
And that's the thing, right? Some people think that they're whatever they back, and they don't know why they're backing. They back it like their life depends on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of the key things, especially right now with politicians, um, some of them are saying that if you don't vote this way, our democracy depends on it. Our democracy is going to die, and they have you living in a way that is fearful that, okay, you're going to be in a dictatorship, right? You're really not going to have any rights, but
Yeah,
it's just that manipulation to make you think that if you don't go our way, a whole lot of bad can come out of it. It's over. Yeah. That's manipulation. And that's definitely a lot that's a lot. It's really common right now in on the political side. That
that's
fear.
a that's a really good point. That's
Mm-hmm.
It's a really good point because if you know that someone is genuine and they want you to do what you want, this is, in my opinion, this is the way that they would approach you, right? Is they would go, okay, with us, you get A, B, C, and D.
Mm-hmm.
Over there, you get X, Y, and Z, and I'm going to tell you why you should go with us. And they give you the list of reasons why they should go with, lean on that
They
side,
make their
right?
case. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So then that they would go, you go ahead and think about it, discuss it with your loved ones, with your friends and colleagues or whatever it may be, and you make the best decision for you.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't.
No.
And that's the thing. So, and I think that's a good tell to whether, you're going to find out if they truly want you to think for yourself and make the best decision for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
or if they're trying to manipulate you into doing something that they want you to do.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. No, that's true. It's rare that they break it down, like you said, line by line of this is why you should support me. Or, this is why you shouldn't support the other person. But it's not given to you in that context. It's given to you in, like I said earlier, if you don't go this way, it's over.
yeah, or you're wrong.
Yeah, you're wrong, right? You're on the wrong side of history, so to speak.
And then moving on to the next step of the list here is school, politicians, music, celebrities, news, and sports. So these are the distractions, if you will, that they put in front of us. And at the same time, making us lean one way or another. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And since politicians are on there, I know that a lot of people, their core beliefs and values may end up on the right or the left. And I think you would agree with this, is that we're not here to sway anybody, whether it's to the left or to the right. Our values just happen to fall in line what should be conservatives or, the Republican Party. And I think we all know that there's faults with both sides.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. For sure.
And, we're not, trying to, sway anybody in one direction. But if you are listening to this, you probably do tend to lean over on the conservative side. So if you're listening,
yeah.
glad you're listening.
No, I mean, yeah, more than likely, right? People that are going to know about this right off the bat are probably going to be more on the conservative side. But like Danny was saying, what we said at the beginning is we want to use this for everyone, right? So that everyone can, hopefully put some think about things a little differently. And like Danny said too, we're still learning. We don't have all the answers, but I think this conversation is important, and it's one that can lead to more people having an open mind. Just like I said, having that realization about what's going on, and like the the politicians, like we've been talking about, the school systems, the athletes, celebrities, all those people, media, news, they all have an agenda at the end of the day. And for the most part, a lot of people might not buy into that, or maybe not even realize it. Because like I said at the beginning, if you don't know, you got to ask a question. How are you going to ask it? There's a lot of people, specifically if you want to go to the Latino side of this, there's a lot of people that only speak Spanish, and they only have pretty much two news sources that are available everywhere to them, and it's either Univision or Telemundo. And we know if you were to sit down and watch either of those channels for a few minutes, if you were to watch some of their newscasts, they lean in one direction, right? And again, people not knowing that this manipulation is going on, they think whatever the news is telling them is accurate. They're telling you what happened. People don't realize that a lot of that what happened also has their opinion of what happened, or it's out of context. So they give you a different version of what is real, of
Yeah.
their reality, pretty much.
Yeah. In some of the other conversations that we had, we brought up something that we actually never thought about growing up when we're watching all these different things, politicians, news, sports, celebrities, movies, all that good stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing that we don't ask ourselves is who's funding this?
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, um, networks, news networks, they have to make money somehow, right? They don't
Right.
just, send out the news and get paid for it. So in movies, they have to be funded before they go out and, produce them and, make them come to fruition and put them on, big screens.
Mm-hmm.
Music, same thing, someone's got to sign these people.
Right.
There's a lot of talented people out there that don't make it. They're probably a lot more talented than what we see right now,
Yeah.
producing music and stuff like that. So these people are being picked for a reason. They're being funded by certain people, but we never think about that. What
Mm-hmm.
is the agenda of the people that are funding these?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is that a lot of people don't know that the news networks get sued all the time for, let's just say, manipulating the truth.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
For
um,
for defamation, not
exactly.
not telling, like you said, right, not telling the truth 100% accurate.
Yeah.
They give you their version of what they say happened, which is different
Mhm.
than the facts.
Yeah. So you know, it's one of those things that we have to ask ourselves. We have to point out to our loved ones, our children, our friends, family. Pay attention to that. Ask yourself
Mm-hmm.
that. I know a lot of people haven't asked themselves is who funds all these people, all these
Mm-hmm.
different companies, networks, and things of that nature. Is if we start, there's a saying, follow the money. So if you start
Yeah.
following the money, you're gonna find out the truth.
Yeah,
So
and then like you're saying, right? Like which movie gets picked over this movie or that movie?
mhm,
What agenda are they approving, right? And then again,
mhm,
that's how you, when it comes to, movies and television and all that, and where the manipulation is those agendas are in those movies that you watch, those TV
yeah,
shows that you watch, and somebody approved it, right? Because yeah, it takes money to put a TV show on, to put on a
yeah,
series, or to get like you said, a movie in the big screen. It takes somebody to put that money in, and then you got to ask, okay, well, what's that agenda, right? What is in this
mhm,
script that makes that person go, okay, yeah, I'm gonna put in these many millions of dollars so you can have this movie out. So it is definitely an interesting topic, right? An interesting question to ask. And like you said, yeah, that saying is follow the money. That's something people have heard for a long time. I think everybody's heard the saying follow the money.
yeah,
And yeah, if we don't do that or don't ask like what's going on or why this or that, then yeah, we're not gonna notice what's going on.
yeah. And then we'll move on to leading us away from our values. So that's the next one on the list. There is so all those distractions that we just talked about: school, politician, music, celebrities, news, and sports. Um, in a sense, are leading us away from our values.
Mm-hmm.
These distractions are tearing apart, if you will, our family and community, if we want
Mm-hmm.
to use that word.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I remember as a kid, like I said, first generation born here, and all my aunts and uncles, it was really tight knit. So we got together a lot, went to the park, and just grew up a little bit different than your first, second generations that are born here. I'm
Hmm.
not saying, it starts getting lost in different levels in different families.
Yeah,
You could
yeah,
have second
definitely.
generations, third generations that are still super tight, but they approach things a little bit differently than other families, and maybe they don't buy into the manipulation that
Hmm.
happens here in the United States. But with all of these distractions, and it starts tearing the family apart because it's, what they're trying to project onto us is so different from the values that we come from, you
Hmm.
know? So it
Yeah.
starts tearing away. You start calling family members a little bit less. You stop attending, family functions and things like that.
Hmm.
Politics get in the way, what you believe with the news and things of that nature start getting in the way, and they start affecting the family and tear it apart.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's true. I mean, from my perspective as well, kind of like you, who grew up with all, the second generation of my family. We were pretty close, growing up. As we got older, it's like everyone kind of went their separate ways. I'm only, me personally, close to like maybe a couple of my cousins, if anything. Um, but yeah, somewhere along the way, that tightness of that family kind of just starts to drift apart, right? And it has a lot to do with, you know, whether it's our values, like you said, politics could get into it, um, and it does fracture that family bond that you do have, um, and yeah, it's crazy how that happens, right? Because when it's happening, you just kind of think, oh, everybody's busy, everybody's doing this, everybody's doing
Mhm.
that. Um, but yeah, you don't realize, okay, yeah, something, something happened where, everyone just kind of went their own way. And a lot of the times people just chalk it up to, hey, it's life, right? Everybody has their own kids, everybody's got their own responsibilities, and it could be that too, but you know, you don't call them as much, or text. Text is probably one of the easiest things to do, at least to communicate, right?
Yeah,
And even that, sometimes you don't even, it doesn't even get done. But there it does, in my opinion, it does play into certain values, right? Because now you have family that's doing things that maybe you don't want to do, right? I'm not into the party life. I'm not into, you know, all this and that and this and that. And it's like, okay, well, I'm not into that. I believe in something else. I'm gonna stay, you kind of stay away from it, not in a sense to want to separate, but because maybe now what you believe, what your values aren't aligning with them anymore. Also.
yeah. Well, you could have different thoughts as how this happens. Obviously, everybody's different,
Hmm.
and for the people listening, you might say, "Well, no," like Daniel said, that's life. You just grow apart, and we're not saying that that's not true. What
Hmm.
we're saying is that part of all of these distractions get in the way of us understanding and knowing that that family bond should be number one. So maybe we don't value it as much. That's all we're saying. So if with all of these distractions, if we acknowledge that we're being distracted, but we understand that family, brotherly, and sisterly love are number one, then we tend to keep that unit a little bit tighter, a little bit closer.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, but everybody's different. It's just we're just out here, pointing it out,
Yeah, yeah.
and see if it's true for you or if it isn't true for you.
Hmm.
But it's up to you to see what your situation is like, and if you are being manipulated away from a tight family, then if you acknowledge it and you see it, maybe you can change it with your family coming up,
Yeah.
with your kids. I'm
Hmm.
sure if you say no, I want my kids to be close to me, and I want them to be close to each other as they get older.
Hmm.
I think we all want that, and we
Yeah,
have
yeah.
to start asking ourselves: is there something that's tearing that family unit apart?
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah, and it's true, right? Everybody's situation is going to be different, but um, it at least, like I said, makes you kind of wonder, like, oh, what, why is it, why is my family this way, or why is this happening in my family? And then you can either, oh, maybe I'll try to text people more, or just call them, once in a
Yeah.
while. Hey, how you doing? How you been? If they have kids, how are you? How the kids and all that. Um, it's small steps, right? But it kind of, in a sense, starts kind of battling that distraction, or that lack of focus, basically, on the family, right? Because, yeah, everybody, for the most part, I mean, again, everyone's situation is different, but for the most part, I would say a lot of people are close with their immediate family, right? Your brother, sister, mom and dad, for the most part. Obviously there's families that aren't, um, but beyond that, yeah, sometimes there is nothing, you lost touch with cousins or aunts and uncles, and yeah, you don't chalk it up to anything other than, hey, that's just life.
Just grow apart.
You
Yeah.
just grow apart.
But you have
And
to look at it. You have to think. You have to
mhm,
dissect it. And
mhm.
I know, and again, all those distractions might keep you away from thinking about it. So
Yeah,
just
yeah.
another reminder, you know,
Just talking about this right now makes you think, like, damn, maybe I'm distracted because, again, like I even said it myself, right? Don't text anybody, don't call nobody. And sometimes it's
hey, we're
we're
learning
learning,
together.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we're
Yeah.
learning, and maybe it's something where, maybe as individuals we got to try to maybe make some improvements, or maybe give, maybe another a little extra effort on that end. But it is, I do believe it is caused by a lot of these distractions. Again, that rip away at our values. That then once your values don't start lining up, it's kind of hard, right? To try to associate with people that don't uh, have the same values as you,
Yeah.
because you don't want it to. How can I put this? Now, you don't want it to basically affect you, right? And then it starts to change your values. You start to give in little by little. Um, so, and part of that again is the distractions that are going on that change people's values, and causes that division, or that
Separation.
separation.
Yeah. And talking about separation is, when we're divided, we're separated, whether it's family or community, brotherly, sisterly love, amongst all different races,
Mhm.
is that we can't focus on what the real issues are. We're too stuck um, with us being separated and having differences and having arguments or not getting along or whatever the case may be.
Mhm.
But it takes our distraction away from what the real issues are, you know?
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, and it goes back to a saying that everybody's heard in the past too. It's a divide and conquer.
Yeah.
So if we're all united, we will focus on the bad things
Mhm.
and do something about it. But we're so
Yeah.
distracted that we can't come together and do anything about it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's one of those things where we can't allow that to happen anymore. We have to do something about it, and uh, part of the reason why we're here having this conversation.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. It's realizing that it's happening, right? Once you realize that it's happening, I think you do think about it more, and I think you do try to make those changes to stop it from happening, or to continue.
yeah, 100%.
Hmm.
And then we move on to why this is happening. So one of the things that a lot of people would ask is like, who in the world would invest time into conspiring to do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's very simple. It comes down to the very I was going to say a word, but I think it comes down to the same issue with everything, really. I mean, and what I'm trying to say is that it's control, power, and greed.
Mm-hmm.
So anybody that's trying to manipulate any type of situation is for either that,
Mm-hmm.
or someone might say just to cause um, um, what's the word that I'm looking for here, Daniel?
Is
Is
it like
is
causing like
turmoil
division,
or something?
turmoil?
Just trying to do it
Yeah, yeah.
do it to be.
It's
Uh,
it's causing. I think the other day I had said it. It's causing chaos, right?
hey, there you go, just to cause
Causing,
chaos.
yeah,
But the
because once,
root of everything is for power, money, and greed. You know,
yeah, yeah,
and control.
yeah,
Actually, control is another good word for that.
yeah. Because when you're dealing with chaos, right? And then kind of going back to how you had said about the word community or using that brotherly, sisterly love or loving your neighbor, it's like if there's chaos, then none of that is going on, right?
Yeah,
Because you automatically, not automatically, but for any little thing, you could be against your brother, your sister, your neighbor, and it's because it's being thrown out there that way. And like you said, the more chaotic it is, the more that they use their rhetoric to say, you guys need us to keep this under control, right? But it's not just to keep the situation under control, it's to keep the people in control as well.
yeah. Um, we were talking about this the other day and kind of used an example. Um, and the best way to put it is like this: is that if you have a person that's ethical and a person that is not ethical, and they're running for office, you pick whatever position, and they're running, and someone approaches them, right? And they offer to donate to them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they tell them we're gonna donate or contribute X amount of dollars, but later down the line, we're gonna need a favor,
Yeah.
and we all know what that means, right?
The quid pro quo, right?
Yeah, there you go. And someone that's ethical is gonna reject that offer.
Mm-hmm.
Someone that is unethical is gonna accept that offer. And the point being is that who will rise to power in those two examples, the person that's ethical or the person that is unethical. And
Yeah,
we
the
all
person.
know the person
Yeah.
that is unethical is going to rise to power because they're going to say yes, they're going to grab the money,
Mm-hmm.
and they're going to go with that, return that favor later down the line.
Yeah, because with them grabbing that money, they can use it for ads, for this, for that. That then again, start manipulating you um,
Mm-hmm.
through, especially when you talk politics, right? The ad campaigns. The more ads you have while you're running, you're gonna make a bigger impact. And
Yeah.
the only way to get more ads is to get more money. So, you know,
And then
favors
when you're
is
returning
one
that
way to
favor,
get that money.
yeah. And when you're returning that favor, those people are interested in making money. It's something in that, that they want to bend the rules for them so that they can excel on whatever it may be, whether it's their business, a specific agenda,
Mm-hmm.
uh, contracts, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So the bottom line is that everything that's presented to us, there's an agenda behind it. And we have
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
ask ourselves,
Yeah.
what is the agenda?
No.
And
Mm-hmm.
like we said, at the end of the day, the majority of the time, it's going to be for control, power, and greed.
Yeah.
And if there's people out there that think that in the United States that wouldn't happen. I mean, I'm sorry, but it
Yeah,
does.
it does. Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. Like you were saying, right? A lot of the people that come to this country, they think they're getting away from the corruption of their government, and obviously, yeah, the United States does offer a lot, right? There's a lot of opportunity here, um, for people that come here to, make a better life for themselves and their family going forward. So with that, they see how good the life is that they start they don't even start to think that the United States could have maybe a corrupt government
mhm.
because they're doing so well here. It's like, yeah, that's because everything runs good. Um, and they left their country for maybe that reason, right? The corruption of their government. And and here, it's like you said, the same thing's going on, but it's a little less noticeable, right? Because they do have so many distractions, um, that people just don't know they're being distracted with.
Yeah, we used the example of again, my parents uh, born in Mexico, raised in Mexico. They know the Mexican system growing up, and one of the things with them is that it's a hard life. You work very hard in that life growing up, even as a young child,
Mm-hmm.
and with working so hard, you don't have money in your pocket. You're not, that just doesn't happen. If it does, it's very little.
Mm-hmm.
And coming to the United States looking for the American dream, yeah, they work very hard, but they have money in their pockets. So right off the bat, they're loving it. This is the
Yeah.
American dream. We're going to give our kids a better opportunity to, further themselves from one generation to the next one and the next one.
Yeah, it's a
But
huge improvement.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And little do they know that there's an exchange for that. It's like we're seeing it right now, and we've seen it in history. They come over, they're using you for your vote. You know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
if they get you on their side, your kids are going to vote for, that political party or,
Mm-hmm.
that side, whichever one it is.
Mm-hmm.
So it comes with a price.
Yeah. Yeah. And like we were saying too, it's that price too, right? Like you said, you end up voting a certain way or following a certain party line, and it's because of the rhetoric that they use that sounds good, that that they promise you this and that. A lot of people that come over here, right? They come here, they work, like you said, they have money in their pocket. Life is better, right? Um, and sometimes they come illegally, sometimes they come legally, but one of the things that always gets promised is citizenship, right?
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
then, so then let's say you've been here for years, you're not a citizen, your kids were born here, then they come of age to vote and they start thinking, well, I got to vote for this party because they're going to give my parents citizenship. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
then it's that distraction and it's that manipulation that keeps them in control by promising you basically the answer to your problems, right?
Yeah.
No young adult that was born here wants to see their parents deported, right? That's understandable.
Yeah.
Um, but it's also, you got to understand that, especially, on the left, they're going to promise you all this citizenship, all these things that sound nice, but if you go and sit down and think about it, it's when have they delivered on it?
Mhm.
One of the things that I saw today was, um, Chuck Schumer, who's the one of the senators for the Democratic Party. Um, he was giving a speech today outside of the Senate, or if he's in New York somewhere. But he was. It's funny because like the midterms just happened. They lost the Republicans to control the House. The Senate looks like it's going to be tied up. But these past 2 years, the Democrats have had Congress and Senate and the presidency, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't. I have to check this, but in those 2 years, I don't think I've heard him talk about immigration at all. I haven't heard anything on the news about immigration. I haven't heard anything about the Democrats wanting to solve immigration.
Yeah.
So now the midterms passed. Now they don't have the power to do it. And what do they start talking about? DACA and immigration today. So it makes you wonder. You had 2 years to do all this stuff that you had already said, right? But a lot of people voted for that. Then they get distracted for 2 years with who knows what, and it doesn't happen. And now that they have no power to do it, they start talking about it again because guess what? They want power in 2 years.
Yeah.
So they're going to manipulate people.
You took the words out of my mouth. They're starting
and especially with DACA and all that stuff. It's just all of a sudden midterms are over. All right, we got the agenda ready to go. Let's go distract these people with immigration again because we know that's what they want. They want citizenship. So let's tell them we're going to give them to them for like the 1,000th time. And what's going to happen? To me, if I had to put money on it, they're not going to deliver.
And here's the thing too, is that we had a little conversation about this too, is that on the subject of having a free mind and thinking for yourself, I told my story of when someone asked me, hey, why are you a Democrat? Because that's what I believed that I was growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe I was around 19 or 20 or something like that. And this guy asked me that question. And I couldn't answer him. The only thing that came to mind is because we're poor. Mm-hmm. Mexican poor.
Yeah.
Or Mexican American and poor. and I started thinking about that, and that, in a sense, that kind of started waking me up a little bit, and saying, "Hey, wait a minute, you don't know how to answer that question, but you believe with all your heart that that's what you are." So the challenge here is, if you're a Republican, if you can answer why you're a Republican, mm-hmm. or if you're a Democrat, if you can answer why you're a Democrat, think mm-hmm. about it right now.
Yeah.
But all I'm telling you is that I couldn't answer the question other than poor and Mexican American.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So was I conditioned to believe that? Was I being manipulated to believe that I was?
And, I don't know how you feel, but I believe, yeah. And I believe that's what's happening right now to a lot of, Latino people. They're manipulated or conditioned to believe, again, that you got to vote Democrat, right? It's the party of the people. and that's just conditioning, because then again, once you know why you're conservative or Republican, you can answer that question, why are you Republican? Or if you get asked, why are you a Democrat? Hopefully you got the answers to why you're a Democrat. So I can answer the question for sure that I'm a Republican because I believe in such and such, right? Or I'm a conservative for this, and that. A lot of Latinos don't realize, or, maybe they know that, okay, I believe in God, I believe in hard work, responsibility. I think that comes naturally with the Latino community, right? But
we can all definitely relate to it because of the values that our parents instilled in us.
Yeah. But when you go to, let's say, vote or pick your political party, you go towards the party that, for the most part, doesn't, conform with those values.
Yeah, it doesn't
align. And it's just, it's why, why are you a Democrat?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Yeah.
and having an answer, if you have it, good. But if not, yeah, you really got to think about it. Yeah, why am I a Democrat?
Yeah.
And go from
Absolutely.
there.
Yeah. And then we move on to what does that force upon us? So, it's one of the things that we had down, and we said their lack of morals because, um,
Mm-hmm.
you know, if you start breaking everything down and you start, really thinking about it, are they adding values? I think they're stripping them away. They're taking
Mm-hmm.
away from them. That's why we say lack of morals
Right. Right.
in our conversations.
Mm-hmm. No,
Um,
yeah, I agree with that. There is no there when you start breaking them down. It's hard to believe that they have any kind of moral.
mhm.
So yeah, it's they're instilling, or they're taking away your morals, your values, and it's just I don't know how could I put this? It's just a real man. It's just worldly, if you will. It's kind of like a Christian way of putting it, but it's like you're focused on things of this world, or
Yeah,
things
yeah,
that don't value maybe humanity, right? It's just it's just this lack of real love for your neighbor. It divides so much, and it just, man, it's yeah. There are no morals, because that's all they cause. Like, if you're causing nothing but division, it's like you have to really understand. Okay, yeah, maybe I don't have as many or any right values.
yeah, yeah. It's easy to separate us when they accomplish that. It's like if we're morally dead,
Yeah,
there.
you don't. What do you care, right?
What do we care about anybody? You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
it's like, we see people that might need help on the street, and if we're morally dead, we walk by and go, okay, so be it.
yeah, yeah.
You know, really don't care about what happens to them or feel
Hmm.
anything for them. You
Yeah,
know, so once we get to that point, that's when we're in big trouble.
yeah.
And it kind of brings me to the something that I've been pointing out to people that I have these conversations with is that you look at these movies, and that's always um, the part of the movie where they get to. It's like the point of the movie is
Hmm.
like good versus evil.
Hmm.
And one of the movies that kind of did that for me, and they kind of just really put it out there, is that the Batman movie with the is it with the Joker? I forget which one it is, but
Hmm.
it you know which one I'm talking about, where the guys that were in prison or out in a ferry or something like that, and they can detonate and blow up the citizens,
I think
and
I
then
know.
the citizens
Yeah,
can do the same thing, and they're just kind of waiting to see who's gonna blow up who.
yeah, yeah,
You remember that one part?
yeah, 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 yeah.
And then
I
one
think
of
it's
the
the one
big
with the
guys
Joker.
from prison grabs the detonator, and they make it seem like he's going to blow up the citizens, right? And he
Hmm.
grabs it and he throws it out, and he's this is what you should have done
Yeah.
from the very beginning. It's like these movies are always trying to get us to that point to where is good going to prevail or is evil going to prevail?
Hmm.
And it's kind of like they're kind of projecting where they want us to get. They want us to get to the point where, yeah, we're gonna hit that button and we're gonna get rid of these other people.
Yeah.
It's like, no, we're not.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. these are the bad guys, right? So
Mhm.
if I take out the bad guys, I'm a good person. So
Yeah,
my life has more value anyways
yeah,
than this guy or whatever. Yeah, yeah. I remember. Yeah, that is the Batman movie with the Joker when he's got
yeah,
them all in the ship and all that. Ah.
yeah. So then we come to our end game, of having this conversation. So, what our end game is in having this conversation is being able to talk with your friends and family
Mhm.
about these things. Having an open conversation about it. Um, you know, Something that we can really have a whole hour conversation about is coming to the understanding that um, as leaders of our family or parent, we are going to be the biggest influence in our kids' lives,
Mhm. Yeah, we
and
should be. Yeah.
knowing that that's the way that it should be,
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
know, taking on that responsibility and being the biggest influence in our kids' lives. And you and I, um, we've come to realizations, a little bit later in life. I got started young with the family, so I started seeing a lot of these things in mid 20s, and if you will, like, and really start seeing these things like around in my 30s.
Hmm.
And the idea is to be able to have these conversations with your friends and family and your kids young, so
Yeah.
that they don't have to wait that long.
Hmm.
And
And you as well too, because once your kids get older, it's going to be harder to pull them back from everything that they've been influenced with outside of the home, you know,
yeah,
or with TV, school, friends, and all that. So the longer you wait to try to, how can I put it, correct the course, it might be really, really hard, or in some cases, maybe it becomes impossible because now your kid is, you know, kind of going against what you believe, right? It goes back to different times. You're
yeah,
old school, and
yeah.
then once it's you got a kid that's up in that age where it's like, nah, you're you know what I'm talking about. You're old. It's
Hey,
hard. It'll be hard.
if they throw you that line, you're too late, right? If they
Yeah,
tell you that, you, it's too late. Well, I'm kidding. It's not too late, but you can still try. But
there's
generally,
still hope. There's still hope. Yeah.
yeah, there's still hope. But I always tell this story is that like I said, I started young. With the family at 18-year-old. At 18 years old, I was already, you know, started a family pretty young.
Yeah.
Um, and I would pick up one of my kids from school, and I'd ask, what'd you learn today? And real excited. Well, I learned this, I learned that. And I'm like, okay, good. What else? Well, and then we talked about this and we talked about something else or whatever. And then I go, okay, so what do you think about that? Well, this, what they were telling us, in class, and the teacher was saying X, Y, and Z. And I go, no, no, no. What do you think about it?
Hmm.
And it's the same thing. Well, yeah, Dad, they told us this. And I go, watch, I understand what they told you,
Hmm.
but is what they told you correct, or does it make sense? Does it not make sense to you? What do you think
Hmm.
about it? Do you agree with it? Does it make sense to you?
Hmm.
And it was like an aha moment. It's like, oh, well, you know what? Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, it doesn't make too much sense, because
Hmm.
of this reason and that reason.
Hmm.
And it became a routine. So it
Yeah.
was like, I pick them up. Hey, what did you learn today? Well, they
Hmm.
were telling us this, but, I really think that this is correct. for
Mm-hmm.
this reason.
Mm-hmm.
So in a sense, when I was picking up the kids from school, I had to deprogram them from everything that they were teaching them. And not in the sense that, math is math, and even the way they teach math right now doesn't make too much sense. But, other things that they were trying to teach them in school,
Yeah.
You have to deprogram them in a sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's just being aware and being involved as a parent.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah, and I would say, if you're listening to this and you got your kids in public school, what Danny just spoke about, that little tactic there, I would recommend, any parent that has their kid in public school to do that. It'll go a long way, like you said, right? It'll have the kid start kind of thinking for him or herself, and not just buy into everything that's being told to them, because, they're at school for what is 8 hours, something like that. And if they're just trying to, you know, manipulate or indoctrinate your kid, that's a long time to have somebody influencing your kid, and that's why it kind of goes back to you as the parent having to be the biggest influence. You should be the biggest influence in your kids' lives.
you should want to be.
You should want to be, yeah. And a lot of the times, again, and it goes back to that, people, it's like that they're naive, right? But it's innocent because they just think, okay, my kid's going to school. The school's going to show them everything they need to learn. They're going to get educated. And people don't think that it's anything beyond that, right? It's like, okay, my kid's going to school, he's getting good grades. Cool. Why would you bother, or why would you question anything, right? Your kid is doing good in school. But
Well, it could be a response would be that's the American way. Hey, mom and dad, you don't know the system here. You didn't grow up here. That's the way it is here.
mm-hmm.
And it's like, we're here to say, think about it.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I recommend, that you do that. I feel that that does, it does give the kid some, what do you call it? Some value, right? As in the sense of like, oh, okay, what what do I feel about this? Do I agree with it? Like you said, does it make sense? Because a lot of kids are naive too. If you tell a kid something and if you repeat it to them, then they just, okay, yeah, that's true, right?
at, at a certain point, it starts becoming reality.
Yeah, it becomes
So,
reality. Mm-hmm,
yeah.
mm-hmm. So
But I would say that that would be our end game right there.
yeah,
Start questioning everything. Start
yeah,
looking.
question everything, and then just like you were saying, once you're with your family, you're spending time together, it's okay to have these kind of conversations, right? Because I know there's also, um, just as an example, politics divides families, right? Or they don't even have the conversations because, oh, I don't want to offend this person, or I
Yeah,
don't want to make it weird. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Everyone just kind of you want to keep it normal, right? But it's okay to have these conversations, and if you don't agree, it is what it is. You don't agree, but
We
hey,
can
at
have
least,
adult conversations about it. Yeah,
yeah, you're adults. You can disagree and still love one another, right? You can still be
yeah,
brother and sister. You can still be cousins, whatever. But it's important to also have these conversations because it gives value to everybody in that conversation, right?
yeah,
It makes everybody grow. Um, you have more respect for one another. You appreciate one another, even if there are differences. And,
yeah,
we're all human, right? We're all going to have our thoughts or our way of what we think is right or wrong in a sense. But, at the end of the day, we can still be respectful to each other and have these conversations. And it's okay to not fully agree with one another.
yeah, yeah. And before we end it, and it's all for all the guys out there that are listening to this, is that um, we all think like when we're watching sports, fights and all these manly things, right? Is that's cool. We rattle off all kinds of crazy stats, and we remember, all these players and all these things, right? In sports history, and we associate that with being cool. But what part of the end game is making this cool,
Yeah.
making us knowing what's happening around us, with whether it's with politics or things that really affect our lives. Sports don't affect our lives. If
Yeah.
someone catches 100 touchdowns or whatever the case may be, that really doesn't do anything for us.
Mm-hmm.
But having that conversation with your kids and family, knowing what's going on in school, things that really affect them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's what we should be making cool,
Yeah.
that our kids
Yeah.
are close and tight with us. That's cool,
Mm-hmm.
that we're not allowing them to be manipulated. That's cool.
Yeah.
So, end game is make make having these conversations with your family be cool.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Because it'll go a long way, right? It'll make such an impact on, your family as a whole. Chances are it might even bring you closer, because then you really understand each other. You know what I mean? And maybe you learn something that you didn't know, or they learned something that they didn't know. And even though you might think you're divided, or you might think that, oh, everything that's getting taught in school is cool, or it's no big deal. um you get to learn. Everybody learns together, you know things that are gonna be important in your everyday life, right? That give you value, gives your kids values, your brothers and sisters. um because, yeah, like you said, right, all that, the sports, knowing all the stats, and this and that, it's entertaining in the moment, right? A lot of the times families get together because of that, because of
Yeah,
sport, right? But especially recently, it's like sports, they have an agenda too now, and it makes it harder to want to watch. And sports used to be something where you can get together and watch this fight or watch this game, and you and your family have a good time. But
mhm.
at the end of the day, it's good for that camaraderie, right, within the family. But at the end of the day, yeah, it's not going to give you that information that you need, for your everyday life, and as far as like knowing what's going on, you know,
Yeah,
um, knowing that certain people have agendas, and they're out there, and they may be subtle, or they may be right in your face, right? But just because it's there doesn't make it okay, right?
yeah,
Just because it's on TV doesn't mean that, oh, okay, it's if it's on TV, then it's fine, right?
yeah.
It's
It's got
approved.
to be right.
It's
Yeah,
got to be okay.
mhm.
And it's not. But yeah, I mean, just kind of like you said, staying with the end game here is making these conversations cool, and redefining what's important with
Yeah,
the family.
yeah. No, but
Cool.
that's pretty much it. I know that on every single thing that we touched, we could have a long conversation just
Yeah.
going off on it, and
I
we're
mean,
kind
you
of
can go
holding
off
back
on.
from doing that. But
Yeah.
yeah, no,
That's true, man. There you can dive into every, you could go into the news, have an hour talk about the news, the schools, media, sports. You could probably have a 10-hour conversation if you covered all the
yeah, we
topics.
break it down.
Um,
And
but
it's something that maybe we can have a conversation about individually, like each topic or each facet of what we discussed today.
mhm.
But yeah, I mean, for today's conversation, I think that pretty much covers everything.
Yeah, yeah. So, hopefully, if you're listening, hopefully you enjoyed the conversation. Hopefully it makes you think. Um, if you were able to learn something, cool, awesome. Hopefully you can take what we're doing with this podcast and this show is, like we said, hopefully we get people to think. We're still learning. Hopefully we can get people on that kind of educate us
Teachers.
on some other
Mhm.
stuff. Um, I wanna talk to somebody about. We want to talk to somebody about how the school boards work. What it takes to run for Congress. Different things that like maybe you don't hear about every day, but it can be broken down so you can learn something. So part of making a change is also us doing stuff, right? It's not nothing works if we just complain, and then don't put any
Yeah.
action into it, right? But sometimes we don't because we don't know where to start. Um,
Yeah.
so hopefully, us and anyone that's listening, uh, if we're looking for something, we find our way to like, hey, this is my starting point, and I
Mhm.
need to do this, right? And if it's just maybe having the conversations with your family and maybe kind of explaining or teaching, not teaching, but like just having that conversation, to having them hear something that they otherwise might have not heard,
Yeah.
that could go a long way, because now you take this and you take it to another person, and then that person takes it to another person, and then
Well, it's starting the dialogue, and then that
yeah,
dialogue gets, it'll start trickling down from one person to another person to another person. And the whole thing is that, we're not going crazy, trying to push a certain agenda or anything like that. And I think when you can have an open conversation, whether, from our experiences, we're right in
mm-hmm.
our mind and we have our thoughts and opinions about something, if you're open about it and you can have a conversation with someone else about it,
Yeah,
they might be more open to it. But if you're fiery and you're not open to it and it's really like a combative conversation, no one's going to want to have that. And I
yeah,
think that's where it goes, south, when you
yeah, it
start
goes
having
wrong.
conversations like that. So,
Yeah, yeah,
looking forward to having more open dialogue like this. So,
yeah, for sure. So hopefully everybody uh enjoyed that one, and we'll keep them coming. We'll try to do these as much as we can, and hopefully we keep these intriguing enough to keep you listening.
right on. Sounds good.
All right, then. Well, everybody have a good one, and we'll catch you guys next time.
All right.
Later.